Hello, and welcome to Who Are You? This is the Babylon 5 Watchcast, hosted by two former strangers, now friends, who've gotten to know each other while we watching a favorite show from their childhood, Babylon 5. I'm Xhafer.
And I'm Laura.
This is the morning stank. I've been up for 4 hours. I've soaked in a hot tub. I'm drinking coffee.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
this is me at my most awake, I feel.
Is that like a Battlestar mug by chance?
It is a Dave
Oh, no, it's
Queen
not.
mug.
Okay. I thought it
Starbucks
was
coffee instead of Starbucks. Yeah.
yeah. I thought it must have
Um,
been Starbucks, but I couldn't see it all. So
this was a Podmas gift from Ben a number of years ago. Back when we did Draft the
cute.
Universe, we would always do Podmas where we all got each other something for Christmas. And
Aw.
I forget if we would open it up on pod or we would talk. We were right before a recording session. It was just a thing that we did.
That's cute.
And this
I
was
like that.
a Podmas gift from him. So,
You know what else is cute? I think it was very serendipitous that yesterday
mhm.
we were both celebrating our mother's 70th birthday at the same time.
Yeah.
I noticed that when you said you were coming back from a 70th birthday celebration. I was like, "I'm celebrating my mother's 70th right now."
Yeah. And that's that time change too. That's
Yeah.
fun. What'd you guys
Yeah.
do?
We took her to well, it was also my father's 70th birthday. So I don't remember if I've said this before on pod, but my parents were born 3 days apart. So we took both of them to a very nice steakhouse in Oklahoma City, like,
Mhm.
fancy, like, old money kinda steakhouse,
Yeah.
and
I
they
know that asked you, like, I didn't
uh-huh.
know, but I did see the pictures on Facebook, and it looked real good.
It is a real nice place. My brother was, like, kind of dubious. He flew up from Louisiana, and he
Mhm.
was like, "Well, okay, you pick the place," and it's just called Bob's, so it's like, what is Bob's?" You know?
Right?
But we had a very nice waiter, Garrett, and they always ask you when you call and make the reservation, like, "Are you celebrating something?" And so I told them, it's my parents' 70th birthdays, and they, when they brought us dessert for the birthdays, they had 2 very lovely little cards that were signed by all the staff with happy
Oh,
birthday to them. It was really cute.
that's fun.
Mhm. Highly recommend it. If you guys ever get to come to Oklahoma City, we will try to take you out to Bob's because it will be a
Okay.
great time. You'll like it. But what did you guys do?
So, yeah, we went out for a fancy dinner as well. I don't know how your parents were dealing with it. My mom was not happy about turning 70.
Oh, my parents are very, like, nonchalant about the whole thing.
Yeah, she was a lot better today than she was, like, a month ago when I was trying to get her to agree to do anything. Well,
Oh.
yesterday, but yeah. But a month ago, she was just like, "This fucking sucks. I'm old. I hate this." You
It's
know?
not for the faint of heart, I hear.
Yeah. I mean, I know a big part of that, admittedly, is my dad passed when he was 72.
Aw,
And so mom
yeah.
hitting 70 is like a thing. Like, I get
Mhm.
that.
Yeah.
Because you can't, I mean, they were together for almost 50 years before he passed. Like,
No.
so I imagine you can't hit that number and not go, I've got 2 years. Despite the fact that my grandmother, her mother, lived to 88
Yeah.
after spending 5 years in hospice. Like,
Dang.
she was on the verge of death. Like, we were making arrangements. And so she entered hospice care. They took her off all of her meds. New lease on
Just
life. Just
hanging around.
rebounded instantly. Ate candy bars for dinner, just read books, did whatever she wanted for 5 years.
Mhm.
Um, and then both of her grandmothers, my great-grandmothers, both made it over 100.
Wow.
So, like,
That is amazing.
her genes are rolling for her here. Like,
Uh-huh.
she really she's in good health, you know? Like, I know she beats herself up about a couple of things with her health, but I mean, she's doing fine. So, I don't think she's got
Yeah.
anything to be worried about for a while, and that's just not me trying to be optimistic in the face of the same thing that she's looking at.
Yeah.
Um, but no, I think once we got there, like, her sister had to text me and be all like, "What are we doing?" Because she's not telling me anything.
Oh.
Like, like, I had 2 uncles and an aunt there, and it was just like, we kind of just, like, on the sly, like, "This is what we're doing." We
Uh-huh.
made sure the dinner reservation had enough space for everyone.
Mhm.
But it was me, my sister, our partners, my mom, her boyfriend, and then a couple
Mhm.
aunts and uncles, and, we went and had a very nice dinner at a fancy Italian place,
Aw.
and then there was a brewery walking distance, maybe a block away, that we all walked to, and then we all had a beer, and just had a
Aw.
good time just telling stories and remembering things, and it was a fun evening for sure.
Yeah. Well, happy birthday, moms.
Right. I know you're never gonna listen to this because the words
Exactly.
pod and cast are both foreign to you, mom, but I'm glad you had
Yeah,
a happy birthday.
yeah. My mom has no idea what Babylon 5 is. It's
Oh,
okay.
yeah, I wouldn't even.
So we have an episode of a
Crusade.
television show we're supposed to talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah, I know.
today.
I feel like I say it every week right now, but we did it, we got through another one.
Yeah, this is the one that I texted you after it was over and
Yeah,
said, "Do I deserve a snack for having watched this?"
you're right, and you texted Beth too,
Uh-huh.
and Beth
Yeah.
looked over at me and she's like, "Does she deserve a snack?" And I'm all like, "Yes, if it's anything like the last couple, because I hadn't watched it at that point."
Yeah, yeah. And we were gonna do another one. We did 2 in a row. So I did
Oof,
go get a snack, everyone. I
good.
did get myself some I made some popcorn and put nacho cheesy dust on it.
Yeah.
It's very worth it. Yeah.
I haven't watched the next one yet, but I'm going to after the Lions game tonight.
I will spoil a little something in that
Go
the
for it.
order really did us dirty
The next
on
one?
these 2. Yeah. The order
Yeah.
is weird. Uh,
This was
there are things that
very
don't make sense.
clearly Lockley and Gideon meeting in this episode, and I think their interaction in the previous episode is made better by having this be before it. I think our order really did fuck us
Yeah.
a couple of
Yeah.
ways. But I mean, they didn't even have a good product. Like the order that they did, they're not happy with. There's a reason why it's such a mess.
Mhm.
I don't know that there
Yeah.
is a good order to watch these episodes in. Cue Austin getting in the Discord and telling us
Yeah.
what we should
The
have
pros
done.
and cons of all. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, like, there's glaring problems with, like, Gideon Lockley between these 2 episodes.
Yeah.
And then I couldn't put my finger on why JMS would think this was better, like, right away. I don't know
Mhm.
why he had a preference for this.
Yeah.
So, all I could think about was, like, they they met in the last episode. Why are they acting like they don't know each other, you know?
Yeah.
Ah, well.
Well, with all that said, we should probably get to the episode. We've got Crusade ruling from the tomb. I think this was episode 6. Not that it matters. We open on Lockley and a local Martian cop. Clearly, this cop is a graduate of Garibaldi's homeschool security school.
Oh, yeah, if it's not obvious now at this moment, it will be later.
For sure. Uh,
Yeah.
that was like the vibe immediately. It was all like, "Oh, no, 100%. This is that type of person."
Mhm.
It would have been fun to
Yeah.
have maybe someone from, like, if this was, like, sponsored by Edgar's Industries or something, and have someone that reported to Garibaldi be this cop.
Oh, yeah. Or, like, could Garibaldi even show up in this episode? Is
He
like,
decided to run the security himself. I'm okay
"No,
with
no,
not that,
no, I
actually.
I I just mean, like, just show up at the conference like,
Yeah,
I'm here to be the money," or whatever.
yeah. Let me throw
Just
money at this problem.
but you're right. There's no way that Garibaldi could show up at this conference and not stick his nose into the security, so
Yeah.
you can't have him in this episode.
And honestly, it would take away of the Lockley Gideon dynamic, which is the crux of this episode, because you'd be focusing on Lockley and Garibaldi's little reunion.
Mhm.
And I think that would do a disservice to the one good thing in this episode.
Yeah. I don't know how great the dynamic even is, but,
There's
uh,
there's one scene in particular that I think is the highlight of this episode.
Yeah, yeah. It is
Um,
not this opening scene that
no.
has way too much shaky cam. Did you notice that?
No.
Like, I kn I know that they were trying to, like, show this area as being, like, busy, and it's got shaky cam and a whole bunch of background extras, like,
Yeah,
behind Lockley and the cop, and then Gideon as he's joining the conversation, and it is just so distracting.
there's a lot of extras for sure. There's a lot of movement.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But, hey, we get another Babylon 5 classic,
yeah,
Murder to Theme.
right. I I actually called it the good old B5 classic in my notes.
Mhm.
We get
Yeah.
our murder to theme. If it's not an attempted assassination, it's a successful one over there on B5 Cold Opens. Kind of
Mhm.
feels like home. That's nice.
Kinda feels like
Yeah.
home, yeah.
And then we come back from theme to just some casual misogyny. There's
Yeah.
a lot of it in this episode.
Max sucks so much, I just hate him.
Yeah, you're supposed to. He is in what wrestling parlance, professional wrestling
Oh.
parlance. I would say Max is a shit-eating heel.
Yeah, definitely one of
He
those.
he's a bad guy who revels being the bad guy. He's very Jeff Jarrett for my pro wrestling fans out there.
Yeah.
And man, Jeff Jarrett is a guy that I've just actually hated for forever because he just is always a shit-eating heel.
Yeah.
And I watched a non-kayfabe interview with him. Kayfabe, listener, if you're unaware, is the illusion that pro wrestling is real.
Ah.
So it's when someone stays in character outside of a wrestling event. And he was talking about like all of the shit that he's done that has almost gotten him killed over the years because he pissed people off so much. Just like going to Mexico and throwing really bad, like plain, boring ass grocery store tortillas into the crowd to piss them off. Like all kinds of stuff. He just like goes over this laundry list and then he looks at the interviewer and he goes, "Have you ever hated me?" And the interviewer goes, "Yes." And he's just like, "Thank you so much." And I'm all like, "I get it now."
Yeah, um, I had also forgotten that Trace existed.
He's only in one other episode.
Yeah, like, I was like I called him the shuttle pilot for the
Yes,
first half of my notes because I was like, I don't
same.
remember his name, and they weren't saying it, like, enough to stick in my head, and
I
so
had
finally I was
to
like, "Oh,
Google it
Trace."
and then they said it like 5 seconds after I finally paused. I'm like, "What's his fucking name?" Look it up, unpause. They say Trace. I'm like, "Son of a bitch." To the point where I
Yeah,
wonder if it's just because it's like also a word, if my brain just didn't clock it as a name at first.
true, like, you just kinda pass over it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
entirely possible that that's something that happened.
Yeah, Max and Trace are giving each other shit, and Dorina has no intention with hanging of either of these fools. They're
No,
both like trying to vie for, "Oh, I should get to show you around Mars. No, I should get to show you around Mars." And she's just like, "Fuck you both.
right?
I'm the rogue. I will be fine."
You want me to show you around Mars. Fuck off.
Exactly. Like
Doesn't matter that I've never been here.
she is so much more competent than these two. I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know a ton about Trace, right?
No.
He seems mostly fine. Like,
Yeah.
it seems fine, except for his weird, "Oh, if we were gonna give him a class,
Yeah.
what is he?" Because he's got this former priestly background that we found out about.
Yeah. He I mean, he moves people around and transportation. Like, there's some cleric spells that kind of align with like removing exhaustion or like made people move faster
Mm.
or just straight up teleporting people. And
Mhm.
so I think he is a like cleric of the road, whatever the travel domain, uh,
Okay.
depending on what we're talking about here, what system, what you're getting into. But I think he's definitely a like his thing is like kind of religious-y, but mostly about just getting people to where they're going safely. And those
Yeah.
things kind of align in that class. So that could be interesting.
Yeah. I like that, especially because we found out he was sort of a priestly guy. He
Yeah.
can still have some of those clericy tendencies.
Yeah. He's a
I like that.
foundationist like Franklin.
Yeah.
So when
Mhm.
was does he go on walkabout after this episode?
I hope so.
That's
I
why we
hope he
don't
just
see him again?
you can just he can just go down to the basketball court in,
Just
the
wander around
Excalibur.
there for a couple years. See it all.
Yeah. Yeah.
That basketball court is a subliminal space. Are you familiar with this kind of
Mm.
idea in horror?
Okay. Yeah. Tell me.
The thing that doesn't end.
Yeah.
Like there's a Omega Mart kind of when we went there a couple years ago
Uh-huh.
kind of like leads into that where it's all like you think you're in a thing and then you open up a door and it leads and it just keeps going and going and going. It's
Uh-huh.
like that. There's actually a video game coming out that's a subliminal spaces horror game that procedurally generates space so you can like never actually get out.
Oh, no. My son would love that.
Yeah. It's coming out soon, so
Mm.
keep that
Cool.
on the Christmas radar, I guess. I've also heard of people talking about. I saw a like not a Twitter, but what was the one that used to be all porn and now it's just artists having conversations?
Tumblr?
Tumblr. There we
Or
go. I
yeah.
saw a Tumblr post the other day. That was people talking about a parking lot that's never ending as a subliminal space. I thought that was very interesting too, but it kind of feels that way a bit. That basketball court.
That's the Lloyd Noble where I have to park most of the time at OU. I'm getting so frustrated, Jafar, 3
Yeah.
weeks into my PhD program,
Hmm.
and I feel like the parking situation is what's gonna make me quit someday. Like,
That's unfortunate.
oh,
You
it's
need to
so
get a
awful.
faculty parking pass.
Well, there's apparently only 7 for the entire business school for grad students, so I imagine that those are handed out by seniority, so
Yeah. Well, I'm
pretty
sure
mad
you're
about
older
that.
than all of those people. Like
Exactly.
not to make you feel bad about it, but if they're students that are living near campus, they don't need one. Fuck
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
I think you can make a case to the dean of your college to get you higher on that list.
I just need to rub some more elbows this
Yeah.
semester. I was just like, "Man, this super sucks." So, the Lloyd Noble Center is like an event center in
Mhm.
Norman, and you can park there for free, no campus permit required, and then take a shuttle over to campus. And
Yeah.
even though I bought the commuter student pass, I keep having to park at the Lloyd Noble because there's no parking anywhere else. And it's huge parking because it's an event center, but it still is
Yeah.
incredibly frustrating that I have to do this.
Yeah, I mean, the school has an invested interest, one, in making money because we decided for-profit schools were a good idea for university for some reason.
Yeah, yeah.
But two, it's just like the logic behind their like overselling of the parking passes is like, well, you're only going to need them when you're in class, and not every student who buys a parking pass is going to be in class at the same time. So we could probably sell
Mhm.
double and
Yeah.
not worry about it, right?
Yeah.
We don't even really need to check, do we? And it's everyone who has commuted to a university that I know has this story.
Yeah. I know I'm not alone, and I that should bring me comfort, but it just brings me more rage.
No, no,
And
fair. That's 100% legitimate reaction because no one should have to experience this, especially when you're paying for it.
yeah, yeah. And my problem Friday was, this is the University of Oklahoma's first year in the SEC, so big
Oh,
freaking
yeah.
deal apparently.
Oh, yeah.
And they had closed half of the parking lot that I can usually get into at certain times on certain
Mhm.
days because I guess people just start tailgating for football games the day before the game and they use that parking lot. And I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yep.
Ugh.
Yeah,
Subliminal space of frustration is
I'm
what
sorry.
parking at a university is.
So, getting back to the episode, Lockley and Gideon give us some exposition, letting us know this is all Dr. Franklin's fault.
Yeah. Yeah, we've met him, but they don't seem to know it.
Yeah. Lockley saying her middle name is Security, and then Gideon replying, I want to make sure your last name isn't Breach. That was fun. That was fun and quippy.
Uh, that's that's fine, yeah. I don't like what they're doing with Gideon Lockley, so I came in kind of, like, hostile to the whole thing, like,
Yeah.
"Fuck this."
I think Gideon himself puts a really fine point on it later in the episode when he says that the problem is that their command styles are too similar.
Mhm.
I don't agree,
Yeah.
but I could see how he would think that.
Sure, because he's also barely interacted with her.
Yeah.
Also, did you notice that this conference area that they're checking out seems to have been built by the same people who made the Excalibur basketball court?
It does
Just
seem rather large, but also very focused at times.
yeah, very interesting place. So Gideon seems to know about this doomsday cult. He's
Yeah.
telling Lockley that this killing looks like a sacred Omega killing. So they believe that the Drakh plague is a Noah flood, supposed to
Yeah.
cleanse humanity.
Righteous retribution for humanity's sins.
Yeah, there were probably some of these, right? This seems very realistic.
I actually have a whole little rant about that in my
Oh, go
notes.
ahead.
Well, it's just like, where were these folks during COVID?
Yeah, there wasn't you didn't hear about them. I mean,
This did not exist during what would have been the closest real world analog we have to this thing. And
uh-huh,
every version of sci-fi that has the plague thing where it's not everyone's instantly dead like The Stand, and sometimes when it is like everyone's instantly dead like The Stand, has this version of this doomsday cult that is all like, this is retribution for humanity's sins.
mhm.
Sodom and Gomorrah renewed. Woo!
Yeah, yeah.
Fire, brimstone. Y'all are terrible because you disagree with me. That kind of shit. Um,
Uh-huh.
and where the fuck were these people during COVID? And I had to
Yeah.
like sit and think about this. I like paused this episode. I tried looking some stuff up. I'm just like, I mean, there you find a couple blog posts here and there, but this was not a movement, right?
No, no, it wasn't like a cult kinda thing.
And it occurred
Uh,
to me what had happened. I think
do
I
tell.
think I've solved for X in this equation.
Okay.
And that is all of the people that this normally would have been were already convinced it was a lie and COVID
Yeah.
wasn't real.
Mhm.
And that's why we didn't get our doomsday cults. And now I'm even madder at Fox News.
Yeah. Yeah, what an interesting phenomenon that we went through.
Yeah.
So strange. But yeah, it seems like we should have had some culty people. We had I don't know, we had people who were just like, "Open everything. The economy effects are so much worse than people dying."
Which they're not, by the way.
No, they're not.
By doing what we did, we saved a ton of lives. That's
Yeah.
empirical. If you don't
Yeah.
believe that's true, just turn off this fucking podcast. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want you to hear my voice. Um
True. Yeah.
it's not an argument. It's the shutdown saved lives. Full stop.
Mhm.
So anyways, there's a Ray Bradbury sign in the background. That's fun.
Oh, there's a Ray Bradbury sign in the background because I
Yeah,
caught a different thing.
there's a couple street signs. I found out that there were street signs by Googling looking
Okay.
it up. But there's street signs for Bradbury, John Carter of Mars, and then I think it's Edgar Rice Burroughs who wrote
Uh-huh.
John Carter of Mars.
Yeah. Well, if we go to Mars and establish colonies and don't make a whole bunch of literary references, what are we
Yeah.
even doing?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
what?
Right. You have to make a
H.G.
bunch of
Wells?
Greek Roman references and you have to make
Uh-huh.
a bunch of sci-fi references. I think that's a given. And there's actually another one later in the episode in a throwaway line in the bar.
I caught that one.
Yeah. They're drinking dandelion wine over there, which
Uh-huh.
is
Mhm.
another Ray Bradbury reference.
Yes,
Have you
I
read The
caught that
Martian
one.
Chronicles? Just out
I
of curiosity.
have, yeah.
It's fantastic.
Mhm. Good stuff.
Yeah.
A lot
Yeah.
to chew on in it.
Yeah.
I read parts of it over and over and over trying to, like, understand where everything came from, but
Mhm.
it's mysterious, you know?
Yeah.
Highly recommend.
Yeah, it's been probably about 10 years for me. I think I've got it on my shelf right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gideon calls for a shuttle to take the body up to Excalibur for autopsy.
Mhm.
And Trace knew this guy. Apparently, he makes the joke. He's like, "Anybody I know?"
Yes.
Actually, and he makes the dramatic reveal to commercial that he had wanted to be a priest once.
Yep. So after this, we cut back over to Dr. Prey in the Dark. We had saw him interact with Dr. Chambers very briefly earlier.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had actually called him Dr. Joan of Arc already at this point in my notes.
Yeah.
And I had to go back and come up with another name.
Yeah, he's talking to the voices in his head who
Yeah.
apparently sound like a woman named Jeanne.
Yeah. At this point, we don't know that it's a voice in his head. That becomes apparent later, but
Mhm.
he could just been having a conversation with someone that they don't show us and they're just super focused in. I think maybe we were supposed to think maybe it was like a Drock fucking with him or something, maybe.
Yeah, I still am unclear about what the fuck was going on with that.
This is my problem with the whole episode, to be
Ah.
perfectly honest, because so much of this, and specifically with the like dramatic reveal, air quotes, that he's talking to Joan of Arc that happens in the climax, it's just
Mhm.
like this feels like a shittier version of Here Comes the Inquisitor, this reveal.
Mm. Yeah.
And it feels like a shittier version because they tell us it way more.
Uh-huh.
With Here Comes the Inquisitor, it's actually a like twist. They drop it on you at the end. You're like, oh, by the way, I'm Jack the Ripper, right?
Uh-huh.
They had made some allusions to him being around for a long time. He had made some allusions to old timey London. Like there were a couple of things that made you think maybe something was going on.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and I think that's one of the first instances of Babylon 5 really reaching from the science to the fantastical.
Yeah.
And it worked because of that first reach, because it wasn't something you would expect. I think if that episode of Babylon 5 didn't exist, this might hit different. Just like passages through oh god, it's the line from the
Passing
Bible.
through Gethsemane?
Thank you. Also, I think that is trying to talk about a couple of the things that this episode is trying to talk about in a different perspective. And I think without those 2 episodes, this episode of Crusade might have felt better,
Yeah.
but
I
you
don't know.
can't help but compare it to those 2 episodes of Babylon 5, and that doesn't do this episode any favors.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, especially at the end, there's a reveal of for some reason, Dr. Chambers gets the guy's diary,
Yeah,
I
instead of
guess.
the police or someone investigating the cult or
Sure. Right.
whatever, right? Yeah,
And tells everyone, like, oh, this guy was hearing Joan of Arc's voice. And we know that because he said all these things that when you look him up, they're historically what Joan of Arc said. And I'm
yeah,
like, what if he just looked him up and
yeah,
then wrote them down? Like, that seems like something an unstable person might, in some sequence, do. Like, that doesn't prove anything.
yeah. It
So
sure doesn't.
it was supposed to be like this big revelation, and I was like, "No, it's not." Like, I can Google things Joan of Arc said right now, and they'll all be of questionable, like, usefulness. Did Joan of Arc
Mhm.
really say these things? History is not a perfect thing. So, I don't know. I was just like, "All right, I don't agree with any of this." I don't buy into the premise of this episode at all.
Yeah,
So Trace explains himself on the way back up to Excalibur.
yeah,
This guy who's dead. I guess he was there because he was like some kind of biologist or microbiologist, maybe.
yeah,
But he was also a foundationist
yes.
person, maybe a priest,
Yeah,
and an inspiration to Trace. They work together.
yeah, they were friends until the thing happened.
Yeah,
Ooh.
the thing that we never explain, right?
Yeah.
Not really.
I mean, it sounds like um there was some kind of religious experience that got Dr. Prey in the dark to hear Joan's voice in the first place because he references that Trace could have heard the voice as well if he had stuck around. And they talk about him doing some like terrible shit. They just like
Trace or
reference
Dr. Prey in the Dark.
Dr. Prey in the dark did some terrible
Okay,
shit and that's why Trace pieced.
right.
So, probably killed some people. It's
Yeah.
just my baseline assumption. They don't tell us
All
though.
all of it is too vague, and then, yeah, there's the question of, like,
God,
is
all
Joan
of
of
it
Arc
is
just the Drock?
all of it is too vague could just be the name of this show,
There's the title.
right?
Ding.
Got it. Down on Mars, Darina and Max are walking around. Well, Max rolls up on Darina Funny,
Uh-huh.
funny running into you here. And she just goes, hilarious in a way that only comes with the practice of repeatedly telling people to fuck off.
Mhm. Yeah. He's gonna show her his whole ass, though.
Oh, for sure. Just pants down.
Yeah.
He's trying to mansplain this seedy neighborhood to her like she isn't the
Mhm.
fucking rogue in the party.
Right. Mhm.
And he gets his wallet lifted immediately. She helps, and he lets his ego get in the way of having someone do something nice for him and
Uh-huh.
immediately tries to get in trouble again.
Yeah. It is funny when they roll up into the bar and he immediately offends a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
Like, just classic Max. That's all
Mhm.
I'll say. So, on the Excalibur, Gideon is controlling the investigation. Lockley calls him out on that. They quibble about he wants her to focus on Mars and leave Trace alone. Like, she
Yeah.
wanted to question Trace more about how he and
Yeah.
Henderson had a falling out, but Gideon's like, "No, everybody's got trauma, and we're not gonna bother his trauma."
I like this is so weird because it's like part of me is like Gideon is standing up for his crew member. Good job, Gideon.
Sure, but
Also, he directly knows the guy who just got murdered through a cult that is a problem,
right. Like,
possibly.
we need to put some personal things aside for a bit. We'll get you with the ship's counselor.
Yeah.
Hell, we can go back to that one planet with that lady of the bong water and take care of this afterwards. But
Yeah,
right now, we gotta do business.
right. Lockley is also being terrible here, though. Like, she's correct.
Uh-huh.
100% she's correct. She's doing the right thing in the worst way. Because she's just
Yeah.
berating him about, oh, your trauma? Well, why don't we talk about that right fucking now while you're flying this ship
In front of
in
everyone,
front of
yes.
everyone, right? Like, there is a better way to do this where he would not necessarily be as rightfully defensive as he is.
Yeah, yeah, you could put a pin in that, luckily, just like,
Yeah,
note to
but
self,
but she doesn't.
once we arrive.
Yeah,
Yeah, she doesn't. And then back on Mars, Jean is telling Doctor Prey in the Dark, to kill more people.
yeah. He recognizes Trace, and also they've got bombs.
Yeah. The 666 bomb, as I
Oh,
called it, because I think they did use the 666 on it
they
at some
did.
point.
Yeah, yeah. I make a bunch of oblique references to it being 7 minutes and 6 seconds for some reason. It seems
Yeah.
like a really random number
Uh-huh.
to choose. Uh,
Yeah, Matheson comes up and is like, "Hey, you thinking about Lockley?" to Gideon for no reason.
well, he Gideon's like, "You reading my mind? You read my mind, right?" And he like gets offended because obviously telepath trying to play by the rules, and he's all
Yeah,
like, "No, no, 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 I
yeah.
didn't mean literally, guys. Just the expression."
But that is kind of, I like that touch that reminds us that, like, the actual accusation of reading his
Yeah,
mind is like a crime
yeah,
for Matheson. So he's like, "I'm not committing crimes. I'm
yeah,
just, reading the all over your face." Uh,
for sure.
so Lockley is trying to play nice, and so she gives him the detailed report of everything they have so far on
Yeah,
Mars. Gideon invites her to dinner
hmm
because why not?
yeah. We're
Ugh.
arguing a lot. Do you want to maybe meet not in the middle of a floor when we should be arguing and maybe try to develop a working relationship outside of that?
Yeah, that would be okay.
That would
A
be okay.
working a working relationship outside of that, yeah.
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 And then we get the dandelion wine reference where Max and Trace are at the bar getting drunk. And then we go back to Lockley's quarters where they're having dinner. She's ordered some lo mein. And I just have to say, what in the DS9 is Gideon's shirt?
What is Lockley's hair? She has the Ivanova sex hair going on. I'm like,
Is she
"No.
wearing like
No,
a
no."
kimono too? Like, it was, this is all very weird. I will say though, when they're like, your hero, like she asks a question. He says John Sheridan is his hero. Have you ever
Of
been under
course.
him?
Oh,
Now, now, this is he clearly didn't know. One, the
right,
little bit
yes.
after, but also like if Garibaldi didn't know, when she came on board,
True.
then we know it's actually not in her file, which
Mhm.
is presumably something he would have read after interacting with her or knowing that he was going to interact with her.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a captain thing to do. And so he truly doesn't know. I have to believe he truly doesn't know.
Yeah, no, I didn't question that for a second. I'm just like, "Ugh."
Oh, Babylon 5 being needlessly horny. I see you.
Yep, yep.
If it was just that, I might feel differently about it, but the fact that she takes it and turns it around on him when
It's
he's,
pretty
like,
fun.
calling her ex-husband the biggest idiot in the galaxy, and it's like, "Who's yeah, does this biggest idiot have a name?" It's like, "Yeah, your fucking hero, dumbass." Uh
Just to show you that men are dumb. Men are stupid.
That makes this whole interaction fun for me. The fact that
Yeah.
she's able to take it and turn it back on him, and it's not lopsided like that,
Mhm.
even unintentionally. I thought this was hilarious.
I'm still mad at the shipping. I'm so mad at the shipping. Just let Lockley be, God damn it! Let her make her questionable food choices in peace.
I mean, she don't need no man,
No, no.
and
We're doing her dirty.
I'm not riding for her and Gideon by any means,
Mhm.
but this was fun.
I'll ride for her and Gideon if Gideon submits to her will. That's what I'll
Yeah.
ride for. If he realizes that, like, I am but a mere mortal in front of this goddess.
I mean,
Okay.
we know Lockley is on the sub-dom scale. We know where she lies after her interactions with the slapping what was it? The thing that fucking
The
Corwin
love
gets her?
bat?
Yeah,
It was a love bat.
the love
Yeah.
bat. We know where she sits on that scale after that whole thing, and Babylon 5 being needlessly horny again.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that implies that Gideon has to sit somewhere else on that spectrum,
Mhm.
typically. Not always, but most of the time, that's how that works.
Uh-huh.
So I could see that working out for them,
Okay.
though.
Okay. Maybe I can make it work, but right now I'm just mad.
Okay, that's fair.
Speaking of people I'm mad at, Eilerson clearly had to buy all those guys drinks, right?
Yeah. He's just throwing
Uh,
money around.
yeah, he has made friends with the people he had offended at the end of his last scene.
You know he's just expensing those drinks to IPX.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's corporate all the way, we
He
find out.
he's the motherfucker who expense reports a fucking strip club visit. He's one of those
Mm,
guys. 100%.
totally. Totally.
Duh.
Yeah. Trace wants to hang with Dorina, but she shoots him down. He's at least, not obnoxious about it.
Mhm.
But drunk Max and Trace posture for a little bit.
Yeah.
And then Max pisses me off so fucking bad
Ugh.
when he makes a boob joke at Dorina. And
Ugh.
I just think he's the worst.
Well, you come equipped with a flotation device
Two
to
of
s
them, two
to
flotation
to
devices.
see
Yeah.
in their swim of testosterone. Ugh.
He's just
Uh,
the worst.
uh,
Ugh.
yeah. So Dr. Prey in the Dark, we find out he starts referring to the voice in his head as Jean,
Mhm.
and we see him like clearly alone. Like the camera pans out enough for us to know that this is just a voice in his fucking head.
Yeah.
Trey steps outside for some air when a cultist comes for him. Dorina delays the cultist enough for Carr to get the jump and save Trace.
Yeah. The Mars cops definitely homeschool security because they just straight up
Oh, she just
murder the
murks this
guy.
dude. Yeah. Like you have to the count of 3 to drop the weapon. 1, 2, shoot.
Uh-huh. A very Garibaldi move.
100%. Yeah.
Lockley comes to the incident,
Mhm.
and Eilerson points out it's weird that Trace was the next target after Henderson.
Yeah.
Eh,
They knew
it's
each other.
broken
What are
clock.
the chances?
Yeah, can be right once in a while.
Mhm.
So the Mars cops have Trace look through this list to see if he knows anyone else on it.
Yeah.
And then Trace knows Dr. Prey in the dark.
Yeah, he pulls Dr. Prey in the Dark off the list. They're looking through the Facebook event of the conference,
Uh-huh.
just scrolling through everyone's pages, seeing who's going. Like you do. You know, you want to
Uh-huh.
know who else is going to be at the thing. And they find Dr. Prey in the Dark's profile, but he's got the wrong name.
Uh-huh.
Gideon stays back at the conference. Dr. Prey in the Dark sets the bomb to 666 because
Of course.
can we just say it's lazy writing? Are we allowed to
Yeah.
say that? Joe, I know
Uh,
you're not listening to this podcast, but come on, man, you could do better.
yeah, and then Gideon does the stupidest thing to create a diversion and try to get Dr. Prey in the Dark to
Right?
not blow everyone up.
Which we are told in this episode is being broadcast back to Earth.
Oh, I didn't catch that part, but that makes it even dumber.
Like, I don't think it's like being openly broadcast, but they have said that people on Earth are like participating in the conference remotely.
Oh, Jeebus.
Like, man, oh, it's so bad. And with the size of this conference center.
If you didn't watch the episode, listener, Gideon's diversion is to announce that the Drakh plague is way worse than they thought. Everybody's going to die in less than a year. Everyone should
Months.
just go make peace with their gods. And people start leaving the conference, of course, because they're like, what the fuck is going on? And Dr. Prey in the Dark is satisfied. He's like, oh, the cleansing will happen. I don't
Mhm.
have to stop these people. And that is just such the biggest gamble that you have no reason to believe it's gonna pay off, like
I mean, and he doesn't know this, but this dude has been like aiming up to martyr himself.
Mhm,
Like, at no point during this does he think that there's a bomb. They don't talk about the bomb at all. They don't find out about the bomb until way later in the episode.
mhm.
So this place is rigged with this bomb. No idea. He's ready to just die in a blaze, like the voice in his head is telling him to.
Mhm.
I don't think he stops anyways. I don't
Yeah.
think this would be enough to convince that character to stop this bomb from going off.
No, I'm not convinced either.
Just in case, may as well still go through with it. I was ready to murder myself.
Uh-huh. I don't get it. But Dr. Prey in the Dark calls his goons like, "Oh, hey, bombing's off.
Yeah.
Let's go meet by the bombs and take them away." So they get confronted there, and I guess Dr. Lebec gets shot. He's dying, and Trace goes to talk to him because they're friends, I guess.
Yeah.
And he's been hearing the word of God through Joan of Arc's ghost. Hmm.
He so when they're down there with when Dr. Prey in the Dark is down there with his goons, he
Uh-huh.
references something Jean said to him, and they both are like, "This bullshit again?"
Uh-huh.
Immediately.
They're just bought into like killing people. They don't need the voice of Joan of Arc.
Yeah.
So Lochley is right that Gideon's plan was dumb.
Mhm.
uh I just don't even like I know this is supposed to be one of those things that like, oh, he's such a unconventional captain and he does the thing that gets the thing accomplished. And I'm just like, no, it was bad.
Yeah.
It was bad and dumb.
It was bad and dumb. Most of
Like
this episode is bad and dumb.
there are people who will have left this conference in fear. There are people that will have been like, nah, fuck this. Like
Yeah.
this conference is a joke. It's over now
Mhm.
in real person behavior, I think.
And not only that, but like how many people walk away from this and don't do research for a week, a
Uh-huh.
month in this incredibly time sensitive situation?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
or delete their research and just give up or just go home and kill themselves? Because
Yeah.
I'm sure some of these scientists are going to do that.
Yeah.
Like it is terrible. It is inexcusable.
Mhm.
It's just bad. It's just bad all around. Can't do it.
Yep. But then she invites Gideon to Babylon 5 for some reason. I
Yeah,
guess.
they like my notes say they question mark flirt question mark.
Mhm.
It's like luckily it's like you could slide into my DMs, but I'm not going to add you. So it's just going to sit in my message request for forever and I'm never going to see it.
Yeah,
But you could.
yeah. Mhm,
Just- it's
and
it's incredibly non-committal. And I mean, that's good, I guess. I know you're not shipping this, but like have an opinion, even if that opinion is I don't know how I feel about this,
Uh-huh.
communicate an opinion, please.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
this isn't helping anyone on anything.
And then she brings up God for some reason. Like,
Oh,
"Let's just
yeah.
talk about God."
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, "Okay, this episode is just, like, cramming shit in." So
Yeah.
the Wonder Trio is back at the bar. That would be Max, Darina, and Trace.
Mhm.
Chambers comes in with Lebec's journal and is like, "Oh, he was quoting Joan of Arc all the time. He was hearing Joan of Arc's voice." And it's like,
Mm.
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 He could just be mentally unstable with access to Google.
Right? Doesn't mean anything.
And
Yeah.
then Darina invites Drace to dance to the worst music ever to credits. Oh,
I
wait. The credits music is actually worse.
This credits music, I literally have a note. What the fuck is happening right now? This sounds like someone put on Pa Rappa the Rapper and forgot the lyrics.
If you thought the tribal drums that Galen listens to relax was bad, this is worse. It sounds like a Gene Belcher composition where he puts on the beats and then,
Yeah.
like, dog sounds. There's,
Yeah.
like, dogs barking in
There's
this
dogs
music, and then
barking in this music.
then a cat meowing, I swear to God. Like, what were we doing? What were we doing? It's like the composer fell asleep at the wheel and was just like, "Oh, okay."
It's like the composer wrote this on the keyboard I got for Henry for his, like, 3rd
Did you
birthday.
get him the cat
I
piano?
sure fucking got him the cat piano.
The
Yeah.
most annoying toy possible.
Look, it's very easy for me to make these decisions and laughs not having children.
Mhm.
Um, I also know that if that ever changes, that I am getting it back tenfold from all of my friends with kids because I have done
Yeah,
something like this to almost all of them at this point.
yeah.
So,
The Target cat piano, everyone. If you wanna give a toy to children of people you don't like, the Target cat piano will do. But then they can write this song,
yeah,
and there you
and
go.
perform it for you all day, every day.
Yeah.
Mm.
God, what the fuck? So, how many main guns does this episode conjure up for you, Jafar?
I give the Lockley being hilarious 2 guns.
Ugh, I can't even.
Everything else in this episode, though, is negative guns.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna go ahead and just give it a 1 overall,
Uh-huh.
but know that that one scene is 2 guns.
I mean, I don't even have something stupid, ridiculous, fun like the apocalypse box to interest me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm giving this a half a gun. This was upsetting.
All right. Well, hopefully next week's episode will be better. It isn't apparently.
I couldn't even tell you what it was about right now at this moment. I will have to look at my notes.
We got 3 left. So at the very worst, we've got 3 bad episodes and then Lost
Mhm.
Tales, which is also
Yeah.
3 bad episodes. But we're so close. We're
We're
so
so
close to
close.
finishing all of Babylon 5 that's been released, and we're gonna do it. We're gonna get there,
Mhm.
uh, God willing. So we have Patterns of the Soul next week. Gideon must deport a colony of renegade humans, while Darina finds a lost tribe of her people.
Mm. I do remember that now. Now that you
Oh,
said that.
oh, good. I'm glad it's an accurate synopsis.
Mhm. Fair. It's all fair. Valid.
You know what else is valid?
I do.
My feelings towards Jeremy.
Mhm.
Jeremy Siegel, of course. The
The
composer
most
of our
valid.
lovely theme music. Incredibly
Yeah.
valid. Jeremy, you're valid. I want you to know that. I want you to feel safe and secure in the knowledge that you are excellent in what you do because you should feel that way. And you wrote excellent theme music for us, and I appreciate the hell out of it. You can find more of Jeremy's work at jeremysiegel42.bandcamp.com or on streaming services as Nuclear Jaguar.
And thank you to Angry Duck Time Machine on Instagram for our podcast artwork.
Aaron, I had a whole bit that I didn't do in this episode where every time I said Dr. Pray in the Dark, I was going to ask you to play a little bit of Hoobastank's Crawling in the Dark. And then I had a joke where the journal at the end offers the reason, and you could have played the other Hoobastank song that people know.
That's
And
pretty funny.
And I didn't do it. I forgot to call it out at the first couple, and then we had gone too far, and I didn't want you to go back. So if you go back and do all of that, extra thank you. But if you don't, listener, know that it's entirely my fault and not Aaron's, who is also very valid and very excellent at editing. Thank you so much for all the time you put in.
And thank you, listener, for being here with us on the Crusade. It's a long journey, and we appreciate you for being here with us. We're doing this for you, really. Like,
It's not for us at this point.
We know you need it, right? We can't wait to share a little more Crusade with you and hopefully put together a little Crusade into the unknown here in a few weeks.
I really have to do that today.
Yeah. So stay tuned.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll see you next week, Internet.
Bye.